Hey guys, tonight we're about to embark on a journey so wild, so chemically questionable, and so absolutely baffling that even your high school chemistry teacher would just sigh and say, let's not do this again. We're diving headfirst into the bizarre, twitchy world of the Benzedrex epidemic, the one where grown adults are marching into CVS, buying nasal inhalers, and not for their noses. That's right. If you thought modern life couldn't get any weirder, just wait until you find out why people are chugging the same inhalers your grandma used to clear her sinuses. So before you cozy up, maybe pause for a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from, and whether you've ever been tempted by the siren song of the cold and flu aisle. No judgment, just morbid curiosity. Now, dim those lights, switch on a fan for that gentle white noise, and get comfortable. Maybe hide your medicine cabinet key. It's going to get odd. Let's get curious for a second. Have you ever wondered why would anyone drink a nasal inhaler? Is there really an epidemic? What exactly is in these things besides the vague threat of a 4-day heart palpitation? Did anyone actually read the warning label? Would you survive a weekend as a 2020s Benzedrex enthusiast? Or would you immediately end up on a very awkward call with poison control? Can your liver handle this? And how did we even get here? Wasn't meth already enough trouble? What did the first person who tried this actually think would happen? And do pharmacists ever sleep? Or are they just wandering the aisles at night muttering, why is everyone buying nasal inhalers and pickle juice? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the middle of the most bewildering pharmacy run in American history. It's the 2020s. TikTok exists, but so does common sense. Unfortunately, only one of those things is winning tonight. Good luck. You're standing in the harsh fluorescent light of a CVS, holding a Benzedrex inhaler and pretending you just have a really bad cold. The pharmacist is watching. Other customers are watching. Somewhere the security camera is zooming in, and you're wondering if anyone can tell you're not actually sick, just curious, desperate, or deeply misguided. The air smells faintly of floor cleaner and last season's shampoo sale. You clutch the tiny plastic inhaler like it's a golden ticket, but the only thing you've won tonight is the prize for most suspicious shopper. You shift your weight. Your sneakers squeak against the tile. You try to look nonchalant, maybe cough for effect too much, and you'll get sent home, too little, and you're just loitering in cold medicine limbo. At this point, you're performing the role of person with sinus congestion at a level that would not impress even your high school drama teacher. Across the aisle, a grandmother grabs a box of tissues and gives you the kind of side-eye reserved for people who bring more than 12 items to the express lane. Next to her, a child is holding a rubber dinosaur, quietly contemplating whether he could eat it. The pharmacist, who's seen it all, still looks up just in case this is the night something truly memorable happens. You suddenly become very aware of the signs posted everywhere. Please ask for assistance if you need help with products behind the counter. You're certain this does not mean life advice, but the thought is tempting. You wonder, not for the first time, how you ended up here. Your brain replays the events like a fever dream montage, reading one too many internet forums, watching a YouTube video made by someone with suspiciously wide pupils, and finally, convincing yourself this is a harmless experiment just one time for science. You stare down at the box. It is aggressively unremarkable, the kind of packaging you wouldn't notice unless you were actively searching for it, which in this case you absolutely are. The label reads, for nasal congestion due to colds, allergies, or hay fever. It does not say, for ingesting in a late-night quest for chemically induced enlightenment. Somewhere in tiny print there's a warning, do not swallow. At this moment, you can't help but reflect on the fragile nature of human curiosity, the same force that put a man on the moon, but also convinced you, an otherwise rational adult, to consider drinking something designed to be inhaled through your nose. A voice crackles over the PA system. Manager to aisle 4. Instantly your pulse spikes. You try to act casual, as if you've always intended to spend 10 full minutes reading every ingredient on every nasal product in the store. Someone walks past, pushing a cart full of cat litter and sadness. You nod as if to say, yes, we all make our choices and hope the solidarity is mutual. You think about how this must look from above, on the grainy security footage. Here is a grown adult, nervously weighing the pros and cons of a nasal inhaler, surrounded by the calming blue glow of dental floss and 2-for-1 sunscreen. Somewhere, a CVS employee is making a mental note to check if you're going to pocket the item, start a small fire, Or, worst of all, ask a complicated question. A slow panic begins to creep in. You realise you don't actually know the normal way to buy a nasal inhaler. Do people buy just one? Do they get a basket and add decoy items, maybe a magazine, a bottle of Gatorade, a greeting card for someone named Linda? You're not sure, but you don't want to look like the kind of person who came here just for this. So, you do. You circle back, grab a bag of cough drops, a random nail clipper, and inexplicably, a travel-sized bottle of Pepto-Bismol. Finally, you make your way to the checkout. The cashier scans your items, eyes lingering for a beat too long on the inhaler. For a moment, you consider making up a story about allergies, or a marathon, or just that you like the taste of menthol, but you settle for the classic, rough week. The cashier nods, bag rustling, and you feel a sense of absurd accomplishment. As you exit under the buzzing security sensors, clutching your odd little haul, you realise you've completed your rite of passage. Aisle 4 has seen another brave, if misguided, soul through their pilgrimage. Outside, the air feels colder, the night impossibly quiet. You survived the first battle, buying Benzedrex with a straight face. The real adventure, unfortunately, is only just beginning. Let's talk about technique. You didn't major in chemistry, but tonight you're dissecting a plastic inhaler like a caffeinated raccoon. Cotton rods, lemon juice, endless Google searches. Welcome to the unglamorous world of amateur pharmaceutical extraction, where everyone is a scientist and nobody should be. First, let's set the mood. You're hunched over your kitchen counter, elbows deep in a pile of paper towels, plastic packaging, and that one spoon you ruined last Thanksgiving. The harsh overhead light flickers, casting laboratory-grade shadows across your face. It's 1:37 a.m., the hour when all your best and worst ideas flourish. You're pretty sure you saw a video about this once, but it was filmed in a bathroom, and the narrator called himself Farmer Whiz Kid 420. Now you're wondering if there's a Nobel Prize for household chemistry, one you can win with only anxiety and a box cutter. Your lab setup would horrify your high school science teacher. One mismatched mug, a butter knife, lemon juice, gloves that are really just old socks with the fingers cut off, and a half-empty water bottle that's about to become very important. You feel a little bit like a medieval alchemist, minus the beard, the candlelight, and the centuries of respect. This is science at its most desperate, and also its most ill-advised. You start with the unassuming Benzedrex inhaler, examining it like it might reveal the secrets of the universe, or at least of late-stage capitalism. The first hurdle is getting the thing open. There's no clear open here or for home chemistry. Press button A. No, this is a battle between man and plastic. You twist, you pull, you try biting the cap. Don't. Eventually you resort to brute force, cracking the tube open like you're searching for the world's most disappointing prize. Inside, a cotton rod emerges steeped in enough menthol to clear your sinuses for the next decade. You instantly regret not wearing goggles. There's a sharp medicinal tang in the air, like Vicks VapoRub with a criminal record. The extraction method of choice. Citrus juice, of course. Some say lemon works best, others swear by lime, and a brave few claim vinegar is the path to enlightenment. Either way, you're soaking the rod in a mug of acidic liquid, watching bubbles rise and feeling like you're doing a science fair project that's going to end with your phone auto-correcting Benzedrex to 911. You sit back and wait. Some online guides say you should squeeze the cotton rod. Some say, let it soak. Some just shout, don't do it, into the digital void. Your hands already smell like a cross between a janitor's closet and a haunted lemonade stand. You keep refreshing Reddit for tips, but the advice is mostly contradictory and occasionally terrifying. The phrase just trust the process is not reassuring when the process involves household chemicals and a complete lack of adult supervision. You wonder what a real scientist would think. There's probably a university researcher out there, quietly weeping into their coffee because somewhere, someone is extracting propylhexedrine with the help of a salad fork and questionable optimism. But you're too far gone now. You swirl the mixture gently, like a chemist in a noir film, except instead of jazz, the only soundtrack is the distant hum of your fridge and the existential dread gnawing at your soul. Time passes. You realise you have no idea how long you're supposed to wait. 5 minutes? An hour? Until the lemon juice achieves enlightenment? You try to remember what the YouTube video said, but you were too distracted by the guy's mullet and the unidentifiable stains on his bathrobe. In the end, you settle for until I get bored, which in this context is both dangerously vague and deeply appropriate. Finally, you lift the mug, examining the cloudy, citrusy concoction. This is it. This is the result of your experiment. You're not sure whether you should feel proud, ashamed, or just mildly concerned for your own well-being. The reality is, you're not a chemist. You're just another curious soul with access to the world's weirdest instructions and too much time on your hands. If someone walked in right now, what would you even say? It's for a science project, maybe, or I'm making artisanal lemon tea. More likely you'd just freeze, mug in hand, caught in the act of homegrown pharmacological ambition. But it's too late for questions now. The ritual is complete. Welcome to the Benzedrex DIY Club. Membership is confusing, instructions are contradictory, and nobody's entirely sure why they joined in the first place. Ever wonder how a stimulant stronger than your morning espresso is just there, sandwiched between cough drops and Pez dispensers? America, land of freedom, home of questionable regulatory loopholes. You're standing in the pharmacy aisle staring at a wall of choices. On the left, children's vitamins shaped like cartoon bears. On the right, a display of nasal inhalers, looking innocent, almost cheerful in their pastel packaging. But hidden behind that generic font and clinical promise lies a stimulant so peppy, it could keep a marching band awake for 3 parades straight. How did it get here? How is this legal? Why are we trusting our collective fate to an ingredient list that reads like the villain origin story for the world's most energetic ant? Welcome to the wild frontier of American over-the-counter drugs, where regulations are written in pencil and loopholes are as wide as the Grand Canyon. If you thought the pharmacy section was curated with the careful wisdom of decades of science, think again. In reality, it's a patchwork quilt of old laws, new fads, and the eternal American optimism that if you can buy it at CVS, it must be safe. Surely nothing dangerous ever came from something wrapped in plastic and labelled non-drowsy. Let's rewind. Decades ago, stimulant medicines were all the rage. Need energy? There was a pill, powder, or potion for that. Some legal, some not. From Benzedrine inhalers in the 1930s, ask your grandparents actually don't, to those infamous diet pills your great-aunt swears were just pep pills, America has a long, proud tradition of casually electrifying its population in the name of health and productivity. Sleep was optional, energy was a purchase order away. But as the years passed, people noticed some side effects. Things like jitteriness, insomnia, heart palpitations, and the sudden urge to alphabetize your entire house at 2 a.m. Regulators started tightening up, reclassifying, and in some cases, outright banning ingredients that proved a little too popular with night shift truckers and college students. Sudafed, once a household staple for stuffy noses and last-minute term papers, got itself locked up tighter than a state secret. Now, you need to present a photo ID and swear on your childhood pet just to buy it. Yet through it all, a few crafty compounds slip through the net. Enter Propylhexedrine, the molecular star of Benzedrex. Structurally, it's just a hop, skip, and a questionable decision away from its amphetamine cousins. But thanks to a regulatory quirk, it's considered safe and effective when inhaled, and the FDA, perhaps distracted by larger disasters, never bothered to imagine that anyone would try anything else with it. This is the pharmaceutical equivalent of child-proofing the kitchen, but leaving the garage door wide open. And so, Benzedrex lives on the shelf, sandwiched between cough drops and Pez dispensers, a testament to the power of technicalities and the unflagging human spirit of experimentation. Its warning label is firm but polite. Do not ingest. The loophole, of course, is that nobody specified what to do if you're bored, curious, and armed with a lemon. Why hasn't anyone cracked down harder? Partly it's bureaucracy. The FDA and DEA are locked in a decades-long game of whack-a-mole, chasing whatever new trend pops up on Reddit and TikTok. If it's not being mass-produced in a lab or causing tabloid panic, it's probably safe to ignore for another quarter or two. Meanwhile, the companies selling these products point to their intended use. We never said you could drink it. If people want to marinate cotton in citrus juice, that's on them. There's also the American faith in personal responsibility, the sacred right to make your own mistakes, provided you don't sue the manufacturer afterward. In the US, you can buy fireworks, energy drinks the size of your thigh, and nasal inhalers with a hidden kick, all under one fluorescent roof. So next time you wander down aisle 4, remember, you're not just shopping for cold relief, you're witnessing the great American experiment where chemistry, capitalism, and chaos meet. Welcome to the wild world of OTC stimulants, where the only real limit is your imagination and maybe your blood pressure. It's time to meet the star of tonight's show, Propylhexedrine. On paper, it sounds like a cough syrup sidekick. In reality, it's an amphetamine cousin just waiting for someone to make a very poor life choice. If molecules could win awards for most likely to crash a PTA meeting, Propylhexedrine would have its own dedicated trophy shelf. Imagine a molecule wearing sunglasses indoors, claiming it's just here to clear your sinuses, while quietly texting its stimulant friends to come over after your mum falls asleep. Propylhexedrine didn't start out aiming for fame or infamy. It was invented in the late 1940s as a safer alternative to amphetamines for treating nasal congestion. The idea was noble: get people breathing freely again, without making them want to alphabetize the neighbour's spice rack at 3 a.m. In practice, let's just say the spirit was willing but the molecule was caffeinated. Propylhexedrine works as a vasoconstrictor, which basically means it tightens up your blood vessels in the nose, letting you breathe easier and making you temporarily forget about the world's woes. But when you start ingesting it, all bets are off. Now your whole circulatory system is on the express train to Palpitation City. Chemically, propylhexedrine is basically the slightly awkward stepbrother of methamphetamine. It doesn't get invited to all the family holidays, but it's close enough that everyone talks about it behind its back. With just a couple of tweaks to its molecular structure, think, one less methyl group, one more plausible deniability, you've got something that's legal, over the counter, and technically safe when used exactly as directed. Which, as you might have noticed, nobody's doing. Let's do a quick compare and contrast. Imagine a Thanksgiving dinner table, and at one end sits methamphetamine, twitchy and dramatic, cutting the turkey with a steak knife. Next to it is amphetamine, looking over its glasses and trying to pretend it's the reasonable sibling. Down the table, trying to look harmless and failing, is propylhexedrine, picking at its mashed potatoes and glancing nervously at the door. They're all part of the same chemical family, but only one of them is being sold in a childproof tube at your local pharmacy. The fascinating part? Propylhexedrine is a master of disguise. As an inhalant, it does its job, temporarily shrinking your swollen nasal passages and making allergy season feel like a minor inconvenience. But the moment someone gets the idea to extract it from its cozy cotton home and say drink it with lemon juice, it sheds its Clark Kent glasses and rips open the nearest energy drink. Suddenly, you're not just decongested, you're auditioning for a one-person production of Stomp, armed with nothing but a vacuum and a questionable life plan. What does it actually do to you? In low recommended doses, you'll feel clear-headed, maybe even a little peppy, perfect for that all-important PTA meeting, or, more realistically, making it through Monday morning. But when taken internally, propylhexedrine shifts into high gear. Heart races, blood pressure climbs. Your brain decides now is a great time to reorganize your entire digital photo library. That focus, some users report, it's less enlightened productivity and more can't stop thinking about the 2009 tax return you never filed. If you read the scientific literature, and let's be honest, you haven't because you're here, listening to a sleep story about legal stimulants, you'll see warnings about everything from anxiety to hallucinations. There are tales, real, clinical tales, of people showing up to the ER so wound up on propylhexedrine that they could hear colours and taste Wi-Fi. It's a little like drinking 6 espressos and then trying to meditate on a trampoline. But here's the kicker: because propylhexedrine isn't technically scheduled the same way its amphetamine relatives are, you can buy it at CVS, no questions asked. It's hiding in plain sight, whispering, "Hey, I'm the safe one. Trust me." The truth, it's the molecule that shouldn't be. Not because it's evil, but because it's just a little too friendly, a little too available, and a lot too tempting for anyone with a Google search bar and a wild hair on a Tuesday night. So next time you pass the cold and flu aisle, remember, inside those pastel boxes sits a tiny molecular dare, one the FDA forgot to ground, and one you'd do well to leave to its intended purpose. Because propylhexedrine isn't just an ingredient, it's an invitation. And like all good invitations, you don't have to RSVP. CVS employees are the unsung heroes of the Benzedrex era, trained for colds, unprepared for existential crises in aisle 4. If you've ever wondered what retail workers really think of you, you're about to find out. You think you're being subtle, loitering by the cold remedies with the careful, glassy-eyed focus of someone reading their own Miranda rights. But the staff spotted you 10 minutes ago, They've seen your type before, the researcher, the concerned friend, the just browsing adult who looks like they're one minor inconvenience away from buying out the entire aisle. The employee at the pharmacy counter is not just a pill dispenser. Tonight, they're an unlicensed therapist, a security officer, and, should things get weird, a reluctant bouncer. Pharmacy staff see it all. They've rung up every cough syrup, vitamin gummy and last chance pregnancy test known to man. They can tell, just from the way you handle a nasal inhaler, whether you're congested, curious, or part of a secret society for the chemically ambitious. Sometimes they watch as customers grab a handful of products, circle back 3 times, and then settle for a single pack of gum, classic move. Sometimes there's the telltale phone-in-hand technique, where you casually consult Google with the intensity of a brain surgeon, only to drop the phone when the pharmacist glances your way. On the clock, pharmacy staff wear an invisible badge that says, "Please tell me your entire medical history." You'd think customers would just ask for the products and leave. But no, people unload their problems like they're at a confessional. "It's not for me, it's for my cousin," says the woman buying 3 boxes of antifungal cream. "Is it weird to eat 4 multivitamins a day?" asks the man who clearly already knows the answer. And then there are the Benzedrex buyers, shuffling up with that nervous energy only achieved by people planning something regrettable. They don't want to be noticed, but somehow they're always noticed. The staff have heard every story. "My allergies are really bad this year. My dog ate my last inhaler. I'm doing an art project on decongestants. Some people attempt light humour. Bet you sell a lot of these, right?" Others just stare, wide-eyed, hoping the transaction will be quick and anonymous, as if the scanner might erase their shame along with the barcode. But behind the register, staff are amateur detectives. They spot the warning signs, sudden spikes in inhaler sales, repeat customers with suspiciously dry noses, and that guy who's been in 3 times today but still can't remember if it's Benzedrex or Benadryl he's after. They've read the internal memos and know what's up on TikTok, but mostly they just want people to stop using the store as a DIY chemistry set. The real magic, though, is their empathy. For every awkward exchange, there's a genuine moment of care, reminding a customer to check for drug interactions, gently warning about side effects, or suggesting, maybe just once, that some things are better left to the professionals. They've seen customers at their most vulnerable, sick, scared, or just confused, and still managed to offer a smile, a coupon, or, when appropriate, a subtle, "take care of yourself, okay?" Of course, there are limits. Sometimes the best they can offer is a knowing look or an "I don't make the rules, I just ring up the weird stuff." Occasionally staff swap stories in the break room. "You wouldn't believe what someone asked me about inhalers today." There's gallows humour, gentle camaraderie, and the shared hope that tonight nobody tries to microwave cold medicine in the restroom. At the end of their shift, CVS employees deserve hazard pay for emotional labour and a medal for patience. They go home, wash their hands for the 100th time, and pray that tomorrow's weirdest question will be, "Where's the toilet paper?" instead of, "Is it okay to eat this cotton rod if I soak it in Mountain Dew?" So the next time you find yourself lingering in the cold medicine aisle, remember, those pharmacy staff are not just witnesses to your midnight misadventures. They're the guardians of sanity in a world gone slightly off-label. Give them a nod, a smile, maybe a thank you. Because in the Benzedrex era, we're all just one awkward purchase away from needing a little professional compassion. How did this even start? Blame the internet. Forums, TikTok, and the eternal optimism that this probably won't kill me fuel the Benzedrex boom. Modern alchemy has never been so accessible or so poorly advised. It begins innocently enough, someone searching for homemade cold remedies or, "Why am I so tired at work?" Instead of practical advice, they stumble into a digital rabbit hole, a place where medical forums, video tutorials, and group chats swirl together in a glorious cocktail of speculation and questionable science. This is the internet, the world's largest, loudest, and most enthusiastic bad idea generator. Scroll long enough and you'll find them. The explorers, posting trip reports that read like a combination of chemistry homework and post-apocalyptic diary entries. Didn't sleep for 40 hours, cleaned my house, learned Italian, now my teeth itch. There's always someone who swears by their safe and responsible protocol, posting multi-step extraction guides with more disclaimers than a pharmaceutical ad. Others offer life advice, usually in the form of "bro, just don't die, okay?" Which, in the world of online harm reduction, is about as close as it gets to a Hippocratic oath. But the real magic, and danger happens on social media, where ideas are as contagious as the common cold. TikTok, the eternal engine of trend escalation, is full of creators trying Benzedrex for the views, sometimes as a joke, sometimes as a science experiment, and sometimes because, frankly, there's nothing else to do on a Tuesday night. You'll see fast-cut videos, someone opening a box, extracting a cotton rod, soaking it in lemon juice, and looking progressively more nervous as the process unfolds. Jump cuts, nervous laughs, and comments that range from legend to dude, call your mum. Reddit, meanwhile, is the town square for the deeply committed. Here, every thread has at least one person claiming to be a chemistry PhD, and another who heard from a friend that pickle juice cures all side effects. They debate pH levels, post warning stories, and inevitably, someone links a poorly formatted scientific article that half the commenters claim to have read. The wildest advice is usually found in the darkest corners. If you see colours, it's working, or don't worry about the rapid heartbeat, just drink water and watch cartoons. Somehow it's always cartoons. Then there's the myth-busting crowd, the ones who post dramatic videos debunking the whole thing, insisting it's all placebo, that nobody really gets high off this stuff while quietly sipping on a suspicious mug. For every cautionary tale, there are 3 more testimonials, each more epic and less plausible than the last. In the infinite scroll, disaster and comedy hold hands. It's not just the how-to guides or the bravado, though. There's a sense of community, strange, supportive, and deeply chaotic. People share their first-time stories and post meticulous timelines. T+ extracted cotton, T+ 20, regretted life choices, T+ 4, vacuumed my neighbour's porch. There are even subcultures, the harm reduction folks, the trip sitters, and the guys who just want to sleep but can't stop Googling. For every post warning, never do this, there are 3 replies saying, worked for me, bro. The more cautionary the advice, the more likely someone else is to treat it as a challenge. Of course, all of this advice comes wrapped in the warm, glowing confidence of anonymity. There's no customer service line for the internet's health advice, just a crowd of strangers eager to help you try things your doctor would have nightmares about. The official experts are nowhere to be found. Instead, there's a rotating cast of meme lords, would-be scientists, and one guy who's definitely using a sock puppet account to recommend just eating the box. So if you've ever wondered how the Benzedrex epidemic grew from a footnote in pharmacology to a full-blown internet circus, look no further than your Wi-Fi router. The modern world has made sharing ideas easier than ever. The only downside? Some of those ideas are truly, spectacularly bad. But hey, at least you're not alone. As they say online, like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hydrate. The world's weirdest support group is always just one click away. Step 1, remove cotton. Step 2, soak in lemon juice. Step 3, question all your life choices. The Benzedrex experience is a masterclass in determination, desperation, and the uncanny ability to ignore warning labels. You know you've entered strange territory when you're huddled over the kitchen sink at midnight wielding a butter knife like a surgeon. There's a certain ceremonial hush to it, part mad scientist, part suburban alchemist, part person who really should be asleep. The plastic inhaler sits on the countertop, innocent and unassuming, like it has no idea it's about to be involved in one of the least glamorous chemistry experiments of the 21st century. The ritual begins with a struggle. Nothing about a Benzedrex inhaler wants to be opened. The cap won't budge, the plastic is sturdy, and you're suddenly aware that the only thing separating you from minor internet infamy is your grip strength and a total lack of self-preservation instinct. After a few attempts, and maybe a muttered curse or two, you crack it open, and there it is, the sacred cotton rod steeped in menthol and a kind of medical disappointment. You fish out the cotton, gingerly, as if it's radioactive, or at the very least judgmental. The smell hits you instantly, sharp, bracing, somewhere between eucalyptus spa day and car freshener that's been left in a sun-baked dashboard since 2007. You hold the rod aloft like a relic and wonder, not for the first time, how you got here. Your ancestors probably tamed fire, crossed oceans, built civilizations. You're standing in your pajamas, about to dunk a cotton swab in citrus juice and hope for the best. Step 2. Preparation. Every internet guide is slightly different. Some call for lemon juice, others for lime, a few for vinegar, and at least one alarming YouTube comment swears by pickle brine. You settle on lemon, partly because it feels cleaner, and partly because you're pretty sure the only thing you're about to clean out is your will to live. Into the glass it goes, the cotton rod submerging with a faint fizz, like you're making some sort of wellness shot for people who don't deserve wellness. You watch and wait. This is the marinate in regret phase, where the clock seems to slow down just to make you think about your choices. Should you squeeze the cotton? How long should you wait? Should you have read at least one peer-reviewed article before embarking on this journey? But there's no going back. Not when the citrus starts to leach out the active ingredient, turning your makeshift potion cloudy and vaguely menacing. Now comes the extraction, which is a polite way of saying squeeze the weird lemony swab into a cup and hope the kitchen doesn't smell like defeat tomorrow. The liquid drips down, thick with mystery and the ghost of 1,000 poor decisions. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you wonder what medieval healers would think of all this. Probably that you need a good exorcism and a stern lecture on humility. You brace yourself for the main event. Every forum you've read, every TikTok you've watched, has led to this moment. There's a brief, feverish hope that the taste will be better than expected. It isn't. The first sip is shocking, medicinal, bitter, and citrusy, like someone juiced a hospital floor and bottled it for energy drink fans who have truly lost their way. You gag. You pace. Your tongue goes on strike. The aftertaste lingers, as if it's trying to haunt you out of making the same mistake twice. And still, you push through. Because the ritual isn't about enjoyment. It's about the stubborn human commitment to follow a bad idea all the way to its logical lemon-scented conclusion. There's a sense of camaraderie here. You and the countless others, scattered across kitchens and dorm rooms, united in your unwillingness to heed a warning label. The aftermath? Uncertain. Maybe you feel a little buzzed, a little focused, a little like you just lost a bet with your own impulse control. Maybe you vow never again, or maybe you log onto a forum to share your own story. Worked for me, tastes like regret, but at least I'm awake. In the end, the Benzedrex ritual isn't about chemistry. It's about curiosity, poor judgment, and the enduring human belief that if the label says don't, someone, somewhere, absolutely will. You brace yourself, take a sip, and immediately regret everything. Imagine if hospital air freshener and despair had a flavour. That's Benzedrex tea. Who needs taste buds anyway? The moment the liquid touches your tongue, your entire body revolts. It's as if your taste buds file a formal complaint with HR, and your gag reflex, normally a background character, suddenly lands a leading role. The flavour profile is complex in the worst way. There's a top note of harsh menthol, like you just licked the inside of a cough drop wrapper, followed immediately by a backdraft of bitterness that clings to your mouth and soul. Citrus tries valiantly to cut through the horror, but it's a losing battle. Lemon juice meets medicated cotton, and neither survives. For a moment your brain freezes, caught in a loop of panic and curiosity. What have you done? Are you stronger for surviving this taste, or have you permanently lowered your standards for what counts as drinkable? You try to remember the advice from those online taste testers who came before you. Some said to chase it with juice. Others suggested plugging your nose, as if that could possibly mute the flavour of synthetic agony. One unlucky soul wrote, "Just swallow fast and think of England." You wonder if they're okay now, somewhere, sipping chamomile tea and wondering where it all went wrong. Every sip is a new adventure. At first you think you might get used to it, like olives or black coffee, but this is wishful thinking bordering on delusion. The taste lingers and evolves, somehow getting worse as time ticks by. Your mouth is a battleground. Is that a hint of eucalyptus? Perhaps. Or is it just the taste of menthol and regret, mingling with the sharp acidity of lemon and the background static of what have I done? You swish water around in a desperate attempt to reset your senses, but all it does is activate new pockets of bitterness. It's the world's worst mouthwash, one that doesn't even promise fresh breath. You start to notice other sensations too. Your lips tingle. Your tongue feels oddly numb, as if it's trying to sneak away and find a safer mouth to live in. Even your nose rebels, sending icy cold wafts of menthol straight into your sinuses. You have a sudden appreciation for all the things you could be drinking instead. Warm milk, chamomile, a glass of water, the tears of your ancestors. Anything but this. Somewhere in the background you catch a whiff of what the kitchen now smells like, a heady combination of citrus, chemicals, and broken dreams. You try not to think about how you'll explain this to a roommate or significant other. It's for science, you might say, or I heard it was good for colds. The truth is, nobody does this for the flavour. In the classic sleep story tradition, let's pause to compare. If drinking Benzedrex tea were an Olympic event, the only medals handed out would be for endurance and regret. If Gatorade ever releases a hospital hallway flavour, you'll know who to blame. If someone asks what it tastes like, you could say it's the intersection of air conditioning, loneliness, and a pack of menthol cigarettes, and yet you finish it. Maybe because you're stubborn. Maybe because you're curious what happens next. Or maybe, deep down, you want to be able to say you did something that very few people on Earth have ever done. Survived the taste of liquid Benzedrex with your dignity, barely, intact. You join the secret club of regretful pioneers, a brotherhood and sisterhood of questionable choices and post-sip introspection. Afterward, you're left with a strange mix of pride and bewilderment. Your taste buds are numb, your kitchen smells like a discount clinic, and your tongue is considering early retirement. You promise yourself this is the last time until, inevitably, curiosity gets the better of you again, or until someone in a forum claims there's a new, better way to mask the taste, and that's the truth of the Benzedrex taste test. It's less about flavour, more about endurance. A journey through bitterness, menthol, and the wild frontier of modern bad ideas. You may never get the taste out of your mouth, but you'll always have the story. And honestly, isn't that what really matters? The wait begins, heart pounding, palms sweating. You realise this is the exact opposite of what you were hoping for from a relaxing evening. Welcome to over-the-counter chaos. You glance at the clock, then your phone, then back at the clock because time seems to have entered a state of quantum uncertainty. Was that 5 minutes or 50? You're not sure. Every second stretches out, heavy with anticipation, dread, and the lingering aftertaste of citrus and menthol. This is not the serene, candlelit night of self-care you imagined. This is a full-throttle descent into what can only be described as pharmaceutical roulette. At first, nothing happens. You start to wonder if you messed up the ritual, maybe you squeezed the wrong end of the cotton, or maybe all you've accomplished is giving your liver a unique new challenge to complain about. You pace the room, you open your fridge, then close it, then open it again, as if there might be answers hiding behind the ketchup. You try to distract yourself. A YouTube video, some calming music, a guided meditation app that feels deeply offended by your recent choices. Then, slowly, the edges of your world begin to shimmer. Maybe it's a placebo, maybe it's the first real sign that your body's processing what you just ingested. Your heart picks up the tempo, an offbeat drumline just beneath your ribs. You notice the shadows in the room feel sharper, the hum of the refrigerator louder, the urge to check your pulse nearly irresistible. There's a tingling sensation in your fingertips, or maybe that's just your nerves catching up with your decisions. You try to sit down, but sitting is suddenly a suspicious activity. Why aren't you doing something? Shouldn't you be reorganizing your bookshelf, alphabetizing your spice rack, starting that novel you always talk about? The urge to move, to do, to be productive in the most frantic way possible creeps in. You start to understand why people on the forums always mention cleaning sprees and hyperfocus. Your brain feels like it's being cranked up to a higher gear, thoughts racing, ideas ping-ponging off the walls of your mind. The anxiety creeps in alongside the energy. It's not a cozy, energetic warmth. It's a buzzing, jittery electricity, like someone plugged your nervous system into an ungrounded outlet. You wonder if this is what caffeine dreams of being when it grows up. You try to relax, but your body's not having it. Your feet are tapping, your fingers drumming, your eyes darting between the clock and the door and the window. Even the goldfish seems concerned. You start to sweat a little, the room feeling both too warm and too cold at the same time. Your mouth is dry, your hands are restless, and your mind is spinning out into new realms of hyperactive reflection. Was this really a good idea? Should you call someone? Or should you just ride it out, clinging to the vague hope that everything will level off in a few minutes? And then comes the realization, you are now part of the club. The people online weren't exaggerating. The 40-minute countdown is real. From the outside, you may look like you're just catching up on chores, but inside, you're piloting a spaceship through a galaxy of nervous energy, minor paranoia, and the unshakable conviction that you could probably repaint your entire apartment tonight, if only you had more paint. As the buzz builds, you become aware of every tick, every heartbeat, every stray thought that runs across your consciousness like a caffeinated squirrel. Your boredom is long gone, replaced by a sense of urgent, slightly uncomfortable aliveness. This isn't the gentle lift of a second cup of coffee. This is being strapped to a rocket made of questionable decisions and hoping the ride ends somewhere soft. Eventually you'll settle back down, but for now you're wide awake, caught between regret and fascination, riding the benzene wave. Welcome to the Benzedrex experience, boredom banished, relaxation postponed indefinitely. All that's left now is to hang on and see what happens next. So what's it like to be high on a nasal inhaler? Short answer, intense. Long answer, you're vacuuming your ceiling at 3 a.m, convinced you've discovered a new form of productivity. It doesn't start off as a fever dream. At first you're simply awake, very awake. Your body hums with energy, like you're a smartphone plugged in at 200% battery and somehow still charging. You can hear the fridge running, the neighbour's TV, the faint buzz of the streetlights outside all at once. Every sound is dialed up, as if your ears have acquired a new subscription tier for unnecessary details. Soon your thoughts are off to the races. You're making connections between things that never previously deserved to be connected. Why do we call them ceiling fans? Why not floor fans, but upside down? Your brain, unburdened by normal breaks, starts generating to-do lists, invention ideas, and passionate arguments with that guy from work who never refilled the coffee pot. You compose epic emails in your head, then write them down, only to forget why you needed to send them at all. Tasks you usually dread, cleaning, organising, rearranging, suddenly become Olympic sports. You look around the room, eyes wide, and realise your baseboards have never known the gentle touch of a toothbrush. You grab the vacuum and, with the urgency of a firefighter at a burning library, begin a cleaning spree that would make your mother weep with pride and concern. Dust bunnies? Evicted? Cobwebs? Banished. Suddenly even the ceiling seems like fair game. How did it get so dirty? Who's been up there, living their secret ceiling life? It's 2:43 a.m. You know this because you've checked the clock at least a dozen times in the last 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. You're in the zone. Productivity, it turns out, is a double-edged sword. You're efficient, but only at things nobody asked you to do. You reorganize your spice rack by colour, then by continent of origin, then alphabetically. You research the history of nutmeg, falling into a Wikipedia rabbit hole that ends with the spice trade, and 3 browser tabs about ships that mysteriously disappeared in the 1800s. Your body can't sit still. You pace, you type, you decide to deep clean the bathroom grout. Your hands vibrate as you arrange, rearrange, and briefly consider painting a mural on your living room wall. Time loses all meaning. The thought of sleep is laughable. Why would anyone sleep when there are things to alphabetize, baseboards to polish, and existential questions about kitchen tiles to ponder? Meanwhile, your emotions run the spectrum. Euphoria, I'm unstoppable. Confusion, wasn't I just making tea? Irritation, who left all these fingerprints on the light switches? You experience a fleeting moment of paranoia when you remember the warning label, do not ingest, and suddenly wonder if you're about to meet the world's most ironic fate, death by overcleaning. You open your phone and see the blinding white glow of group chats, social media, and the forums that started this odyssey in the first place. You type out a post, can't sleep, might vacuum the ceiling. Is this normal? Within seconds, you receive reassurance from others. Yes, yes, it is. At least, as normal as anything gets at 3 a.m. in the age of legal stimulants and limitless advice. Around the time birds begin chirping outside, you slow down. Your body feels wrung out, like you've run a marathon inside your own house. You flop onto the couch, staring up at the now pristine ceiling, wondering if it's possible to be too productive. Your mind keeps buzzing, but the urge to clean is finally, mercifully, fading. The sun rises on a home that's never been cleaner, and a you that's never been weirder. You survived the Benzedrex buzz, completed chores you didn't know existed, and unlocked a new achievement. Vacuumed the ceiling at 3 a.m. You might not sleep for another hour, but at least you can rest easy knowing that for tonight, chaos has been conquered and your ceiling is sparkling. Online, you're not alone. There are entire communities trading stories, tips, and dire warnings, equal parts support group and circus sideshow. Who knew so many people had so many opinions about cotton rods? The Benzedrex community is a patchwork of forums, subreddits, Discord servers, and comment sections where strangers bond over their shared curiosity, triumphs, and mishaps. Some join in search of advice, how to minimize nausea, what the best citrus is for extraction, or which antacid might best protect your stomach from the chemical chaos to come. Others lurk for the entertainment value alone, reading posts that range from technical breakdowns of the extraction process to live-blogged adventures that read like a fever dream, co-written by Hunter S. Thompson and a pharmacy school dropout. At first, you're amazed by the sheer volume of collective wisdom on display. There are flowcharts. There are charts about the flowcharts. There are testimonials, some triumphant, some cautionary, all delivered with the earnestness of someone sharing sacred knowledge. You'll find posts titled My First Time, Don't Judge, Extraction Ratio Success/Failure Megathread, and, ominously, Why My Ears Won't Stop Ringing Help. The discussion rarely stays technical for long. For every serious guide on proper extraction ratios, there's a reply thread debating whether pickle brine is superior to lemon juice, or if a certain brand of generic inhaler hits different. Users swap tasting notes as if they're at a wine tasting. Hints of menthol, notes of Lysol. Finish is surprisingly citrus forward. Would not recommend. People share their do's and don'ts, their oops, never again stories, and the occasional warning to seriously, don't do this at home, but if you do, here's a handy chart. A major theme of these communities is harm reduction. You might expect a reckless free-for-all, but many posts are laced with a kind of tough love. Veterans gently chide newcomers, start low, go slow, don't redose, no matter how clean your ceiling is, and the perennial classic, hydrate like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. The sense of responsibility is oddly touching, as if a digital village has sprung up to ensure everyone makes it through the night more or less intact. The tone ranges from dead serious to completely absurd. There are graphs, spreadsheets, and time-stamped journals. Someone always posts a meme about the 3 stages of Benzedrex use: curiosity, regret, cleaning the bathroom. A recurring character is the user who logs on mid-trip to ask if a racing heartbeat is normal, only to return 3 hours later with, "Never mind, I organised my spice rack and now everything is fine." But make no mistake, these are not medical professionals. The best advice often starts with, "I'm not a doctor," but and ends with a story about surviving on nothing but Gatorade and peanut butter crackers. There's always someone advocating for harm reduction, but there's just as often someone recounting a near miss. Thought I was dying, then realised it was just anxiety and too much caffeine. Support is real, but so is the chaos. People rally around first-timers having a bad experience, offering reassurance and tips for riding out the buzz. Breathe. Put on calming music. Distract yourself with a movie, preferably not Train Spotting. Occasionally an old-timer returns to warn, "I used to do this every weekend, don't be me. It's not worth it." Others trade tips for avoiding suspicious pharmacy staff, concocting elaborate stories to explain repeat purchases, or simply confessing the bizarre thrill of being part of a group that exists only because the world's regulatory systems forgot to close a loophole. Ultimately, the Benzedrex community is an accidental support group, a place for the congested and the curious, the bored and the bold to swap tales of their midnight misadventures. For every "don't try this at home," there's a "but if you do," and a crowd of virtual strangers ready to cheer you on, or talk you down, or at the very least laugh with you about the taste of menthol and regret. So if you're ever feeling alone in your kitchen at 2 a.m, staring at a soggy cotton rod and questioning your life, remember, somewhere online, someone else is doing exactly the same thing, and they probably have a spreadsheet about it. Jitters, nausea, heart palpitations, existential dread. The side effects list reads like a Mad Libs for bad decisions. There's always someone online claiming it's not that bad, until it is. It usually starts with a feeling. Maybe it's a flutter in your chest, a sudden awareness of your heartbeat pounding like a drum in a marching band you didn't sign up for. Your fingers feel twitchy, your thoughts are racing, and your body is humming with a strange, uneasy energy. For a brief moment, you wonder if you've accidentally unlocked a new superpower: super awareness. Spoiler alert, you haven't. You've just entered the exciting, unpredictable realm of over-the-counter stimulant side effects. Let's start with the classics, the jitters. If caffeine is a gentle nudge, Benzedrex is the kind of push you get from a toddler who's been eating pixie sticks for breakfast. Your hands tremble, your feet tap, and you feel like you might vibrate through your chair and directly into the astral plane. Typing an email? Good luck hitting the right keys. Holding a coffee mug? Now it's a carnival game. And then there's nausea. the uninvited guest that shows up late to the party and refuses to leave. It can sneak in quietly, a little queasiness that makes you reconsider your commitment to citrus juice and cotton rods. Or it can arrive all at once, a tidal wave of stomach regret. Some report burping up clouds of menthol. Others describe the taste lingering like a haunted house in their mouth. One user put it best: "It's like my insides are chewing minty gum, but none of us are enjoying it." The real star of the show, though, is your heart. Suddenly, you're hyper-aware of every beat, every thump, every slight hiccup in the rhythm. Is this normal, you ask yourself? Then you ask Google, then you ask Reddit. The consensus: it's probably fine, unless it isn't. Some describe their heart racing like they're being chased by invisible bees. Others note palpitations that feel like their body is trying to send them a strongly worded letter. There's always one commenter who chimes in with, "Just breathe, drink water, and maybe call your mum." But it's not just physical. Benzedrex, like any good questionable life choice, comes with a sampler platter of psychological effects. Anxiety? Absolutely. Existential dread? Check. You find yourself pondering deep questions like, why did you think this was a good idea? And what if the FDA is actually just a group of sleep-deprived bureaucrats watching you on a hidden camera? You oscillate between nervous laughter and the urge to write your will, all while deep cleaning your silverware drawer. Of course, for every cautionary tale, there's someone online insisting it's really not that bad. They'll describe their experience as mild or manageable, conveniently forgetting to mention the part where they paced the hallway for 2 hours talking to their houseplant. There are the optimists, you just need to hydrate, and the realists, I hope you like sweating for no reason. Some claim they barely noticed anything, but they're also the ones with a 6-paragraph forum post timestamped at 4 a.m. Then there's the unpredictable. Weird chills, strange dreams, a sense that time is moving both too fast and not at all. For some, there's a come down that feels like someone swapped their brain for a wet sock. Others experience a lingering fatigue, a sort of Benzedrex hangover that no amount of Gatorade can fix. A lucky few walk away with nothing but a story. Most just swear, never again, at least until next weekend. And let's not forget the medical advice. Everyone is a doctor online, except for the actual doctors, who strongly recommend not doing any of this in the first place. See a doctor if you experience chest pain, says the label. Call for help if you feel faint or disoriented. But in practice, most people just open a new tab and hope for the best. In the end, the Benzedrex side effect experience is as much about the unknown as it is about the unpleasant. You roll the dice, you read the warnings, and you promise yourself you'll never ignore a label again. Until, inevitably, curiosity and the internet wins out. Welcome to the carnival of consequences. Please keep your hands and existential anxiety inside the ride at all times. How exactly is Benzedrex legal? Let's take a tour of the American pharmaceutical regulatory system, a labyrinth where the Minotaur is just a confused FDA agent with a headache. Start by picturing a vast, echoing marble building filled with endless paperwork, flickering fluorescent lights, and harried officials who've consumed more coffee than most mortals should. This is where the rules are made. A maze of old laws, new proposals, and pharmaceutical loopholes so wide you could drive a parade of cold medicine through them. Somewhere in the centre sits a stack of documents titled Drug Scheduling, covered in coffee rings and post-it notes that say things like, check on Benzedrex, and is this still a thing? It helps to understand that the American approach to drug control is creative, to say the least. Some substances are scheduled, locked down, tracked, and heavily restricted, usually after someone in Congress reads a scary headline or receives a letter from an angry grandmother. Others slip through cracks that are more like canyons. Benzedrex, whose main ingredient is propylhexedrine, is one of those substances. It was designed for noses, not night owl chemistry experiments, and when the rules were written, nobody pictured a YouTube tutorial starring a nervous college student and a bottle of lemon juice. So, why isn't it banned? The secret is in the details. Propylhexedrine is not scheduled under the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which means, at least in the eyes of the law, it's more benign than the caffeine in your morning coffee. Sure, it's a cousin to amphetamines and can make your heart race like you've just been handed your tax bill, but as long as it's only marketed as a decongestant and stays in the cold and flu aisle, the FDA shrugs and moves on. No red tape, no government task force, just a quiet, as long as nobody's running a cartel out of aisle 4, we're good. Then there's the issue of intent. Benzedrex is sold as an inhaler, and its instructions are very clear. Do not ingest. This is regulatory gold. As far as the FDA is concerned, if someone decides to use it in any other way, that's on them, a kind of "we built the fence, but you jumped it anyway" logic. Manufacturers put all the right warnings on the box, wash their hands of further responsibility, and leave the rest up to the adventurous spirit, or questionable judgment, of the American consumer. Enforcement is another story. The Drug Enforcement Administration, whose agents normally spend their days tracking much bigger fish, isn't sending out teams to arrest people over the misuse of nasal inhalers. It's not cost-effective, and frankly, it's not even all that interesting compared to the ongoing sagas of fentanyl, meth labs, or the eternal return of bath salts. Occasionally, a state or local government gets spooked and tries to pass new restrictions, but there's always another loophole, another product, another totally safe workaround. Add to this the glacial pace of bureaucracy. For every new problem that lands on a desk, there are 100 more waiting in line. To schedule a drug, you need research, reports, committee meetings, public comment periods, and, if you're very lucky, no lobbyists from the Pro-Cold Medicine Alliance. By the time action is taken, the internet has already moved on to the next trend. Maybe cough syrup, maybe nutmeg, maybe a TikTok dance that cures boredom and creates 6 new public health crises. And of course, there's the American belief in freedom, especially the freedom to make really truly questionable choices at 3 a.m. with nothing but Google, a coupon, and the illusion of safety. The regulators trust you to read the label and heed its warnings. You meanwhile are making science in the kitchen, waving the flag of personal responsibility and hoping for the best. So Benzedrex remains, legally ambiguous, a relic of simpler times and laxer regulations. The Minotaur in the regulatory labyrinth just sighs and sips his coffee, muttering, "At least it's not bath salts again." Welcome to the grey zone, where loopholes are legendary, curiosity is eternal, and nobody, not even the FDA, really knows what's happening in aisle 4 after midnight. Benzedrex isn't the first time people got creative with legal highs. From Benzedrine inhalers in the 1930s to caffeine pills and bath salts, the quest for a cheap buzz has a long, colourful, and deeply concerning history. Humans, it turns out, are natural-born chemists, especially when the chemistry involves feeling a little better, a little sharper, or a little less like themselves for a few hours. The story starts in smoky, sepia-toned drugstores of the 1930s, when Benzedrine inhalers first appeared. Marketed as a medical marvel, Benzedrine was supposed to help stuffy noses and low energy. And it did. But it also quickly became the drug of choice for night shift workers, stressed-out students, and jazz musicians determined to play until sunrise. In fact, for a time, it was considered perfectly respectable to take a few puffs before an exam or a long drive, just as long as you didn't tell your doctor why you felt so alert. Inevitably, word got out. Novels and films of the era quietly nodded to Benzedrine's side hustle, keeping creative types awake and giving anxious parents a secret edge in the PTA bake sale circuit. By the 1940s, pilots in World War II were being issued amphetamines for alertness, a policy that surely made air traffic control thrilling and family holidays more memorable for everyone involved. Teachers, postal workers, and even housewives soon joined the party. If you had a job, a cold, or an existential crisis, odds were good there was a pet pill for you. Of course, nothing gold can stay, especially when the FDA finds out people are using their inhalers as makeshift rocket fuel. By the 1950s and 60s, restrictions started rolling in. Benzedrine faded, but in its place came a parade of new solutions: caffeine pills, no-dose tablets, energy tonics that tasted like regret and orange soda. The language shifted from wakefulness to productivity, and soon enough, the only thing more American than apple pie was the desperate quest for a little more energy in a bottle. The 1970s and 1980s added new wrinkles: ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, and the early precursors to modern methamphetamine. If you've ever wondered why you now need a photo ID and a background check to buy allergy medication, thank the generations of creative home chemists who turned Sudafed into a kitchen science experiment. Lawmakers scrambled to keep up, banning, rescheduling, and rebranding drugs in a never-ending game of regulatory whack-a-mole. But for every drug that got locked up or replaced, something else slipped through. Enter the era of bath salts, those innocuously named little packets that promised relaxation, but delivered something closer to existential confusion and a phone call to the local news. For a brief, wild moment in the early 2010s, the nation was gripped by stories of zombie drugs and gas station highs, most of which were legal, at least until someone's neighbour started eating the garden gnomes. Meanwhile, caffeine was staging its own quiet revolution. What began as stay-awake pills for college students quickly evolved into energy drinks the size of car batteries, loaded with enough sugar and stimulants to power a minor city. The branding got edgier, the flavours weirder, and suddenly you could buy a beverage called Insomniac Hulkberry at your local grocery store. All the while, the spirit remained the same. People want to feel good, feel awake, and sometimes feel just a little bit reckless. The legal status changes, the packaging gets fancier, but the desire is eternal. There's a sense of camaraderie in every new wave of stimulant shenanigans, a shared, if slightly guilty knowledge that as long as there are rules, someone, somewhere, will find a way around them. So the next time you hear about the latest trend in over-the-counter highs, remember, Benzedrex is just the latest stop in a very long, very jittery parade. History repeats itself, sometimes as a powder, sometimes as a pill, sometimes as a lemon-soaked cotton rod. If nothing else, it's proof that human ingenuity knows no bounds, especially when there's a buzz at the end of it. Once upon a time, parents worried about their kids learning about drugs in school. Now it's 3 a.m, and you're watching a 19-year-old named VapeLord420 explain dosage on TikTok. Truly, a golden age of information. It's hard to say when exactly social media became the world's largest, least qualified pharmacology classroom, but here we are, a place where advice is free, wisdom is crowdsourced, and every mistake is a potential viral hit. Your search for how bad is Benzedrex actually starts innocently, with a Google query or a curious scroll, and before you know it, you've stumbled into a multimedia universe of tutorials, warnings, testimonials, and, inevitably, memes. On TikTok, it's all about the short-form shock and awe. The algorithm knows your attention span is as fragile as your impulse control, so it feeds you bite-sized videos. Here's someone shaking a box of Benzedrex to the beat of a trending song, then popping it open with the skill of a magician and the confidence of someone who's never read a warning label in their life. Next up, a rapid-fire montage of extraction steps, cotton rod, lemon juice, shaking, taste test, jump cut to a blurry shot of a kitchen clock, and the all-important before/after face. Comments pour in, "Dude, did it work? How long till it hits?" My friend tried this and vacuumed his yard. YouTube, meanwhile, is the domain of the long-form deep dive. Here, the experts reign. People with usernames like The Alchemist Guy and Sleep-Deprived Sage, who offer 15-minute video essays shot in dimly lit bedrooms, a suspiciously large collection of nasal sprays on the desk behind them. There's a formula, an earnest intro, I'm not a doctor, but an elaborate breakdown of the chemistry, let's talk about propylhexedrine's mechanism of action, and inevitably a timeline of effects, symptoms and side effects that spirals from helpful, expect energy in 40 minutes, to slightly alarming. Heart palpitations are normal probably. Viewers chime in with their own experiences, everything from worked great for my finals to please never do this. I saw the face of God and he was not pleased. The wisdom of strangers is intoxicating, sometimes literally. There's camaraderie in the chaos, a sense that you're not alone in your weirdest moments. Need a trick for masking the taste? There's a life hack for that. Looking for tips on minimizing the come down? Someone's written a bullet point list, complete with hydration schedules and suggestions for post-Benzedrex snacks, bananas but not too many. The collective knowledge is impressive, if not always reassuring. There's always that one commenter, did this twice, never again. 6/10 experience, but my closet has never been cleaner. Yet beneath the surface, the advice is uneven. For every well-meaning harm reduction tip, there's a myth masquerading as fact. The most confident voices are often the least qualified. Teens with ring lights, 20-somethings on their third extraction attempt, and the ever-present bro, trust me advice givers. Disclaimers are tacked on like an afterthought. Don't try this at home, even as the camera zooms in on the ritual step by step. There's an odd comfort in the shared risk, a sense that whatever happens, at least you'll have an audience. Social media's influence extends even further. Trend cycles, memes, and challenge culture mean that a single viral video can spark a nationwide run on nasal inhalers, followed by a flurry of think pieces, cautionary tales, and the inevitable YouTube apology video. Parents who once feared the influence of older kids at school now battle the much more seductive wisdom of strangers from thousands of miles away. strangers who can make anything look cool, or at least entertaining, with just the right filter and a catchy song. In the end, this is the era of user-generated expertise. TikTok and YouTube are the new town squares, the new late-night confessional, the new how-to manual for everything you probably shouldn't do. The advice isn't always good, and the outcomes are rarely predictable, but the content is endlessly compelling. So next time you're up at 3 a.m, scrolling through the For You page, remember, sometimes wisdom is just someone else's cautionary tale with a clever username and a lot of views. Remember when meth was the problem? Turns out, if you close one loophole, humanity just gets more creative. Welcome to the age of nasal inhaler cocktails and innovation fueled by boredom. Let's rewind to a simpler time, back when the word meth was just a cautionary tale whispered on after-school specials and dramatized in grainy PSAs. The public enemy was clear, the villain mustached and menacing, methamphetamine, destroyer of lives, bane of PTA meetings, scourge of rural America. The solution? Regulation. Enter lawmakers, determined to lock down meth's chemical supply lines with a fortress of red tape and scanner codes. Suddenly, Sudafed, the humble cold remedy, the one your grandma swore by, was no longer just another box on the pharmacy shelf. It was a controlled substance, available only to those willing to flash their ID, sign their name, and swear they weren't planning to recreate Breaking Bad in their basement. The war on meth turned allergy sufferers into criminal suspects, forced pharmacists to become gatekeepers, and inspired grocery store signs that read, "We card for Sudafed, no exceptions." But human ingenuity is relentless, especially when the target is an altered state of mind. No sooner had authorities closed the meth loophole than the internet caught fire with new recipes, new trends, new over-the-counter hacks. What emerged was not the end of stimulants, but a renaissance, a period of wild experimentation worthy of its own chapter in the annals of questionable decisions. That's where nasal inhalers stepped in. Designed for the noble purpose of clearing sinus congestion, they soon became the canvas for a new era of legal highs. After all, if you can't synthesize meth the old-fashioned way, why not get creative with what's left on the shelves? Enter Propylhexedrine, hiding in plain sight in the cold and flu aisle, waiting for the next wave of pioneers armed with a thirst for novelty and a total disregard for warning labels. Forums lit up with stories and how-tos, how to extract propylhexedrine, safe, lemon juice method versus vinegar showdown, and the infamous "I drank my inhaler, ask me anything." The community grew, swapping success stories, commiserating over side effects, and sharing memes about the real party being in aisle 4. No ID required, no suspicious glances from the pharmacist, well, not at first, just the gleeful freedom of outsmarting a regulatory system too slow to keep up. But the workaround arms race didn't stop with inhalers. Where one loophole closes, 3 more seem to open. At various times, the world has seen legal highs made from everything from cough syrup to nutmeg, energy shots that contain more caffeine than a law student's bloodstream, and supplements advertised as brain fuel but apparently designed by cartoon mad scientists. Each new workaround comes with its own set of rituals, recipes, and, inevitably, regretful confessionals on Reddit. There's a strange optimism that runs through it all, the belief that somewhere out there is the perfect legal buzz just waiting to be discovered. Maybe it's the American spirit of innovation, maybe it's boredom, maybe it's just the thrill of being part of a club that exists solely because nobody thought to ban something yet. Whatever the reason, the workaround never truly dies. It just changes form, jumps platforms, finds a new host in the endless ecosystem of consumer chemistry. And of course, there are always consequences. Sometimes the workaround becomes the new problem. Hospital visits, public health warnings, cautionary tales on the local news about the dangers of everyday products. Eventually regulators catch up, the loophole closes and the cycle begins again. The great game of cat and mouse continues, fueled by a combination of curiosity, stubbornness, and the fact that nobody wants to let a little thing like legality stand in the way of a new experience. So here we are, in an age where nasal inhaler cocktails are the workaround du jour, a strange monument to ingenuity, resourcefulness, and the unbreakable human will to chase a buzz, even if it means drinking cotton soaked in lemon juice. Meth may be locked up tight, but innovation, as always, finds a way. It's not just about the high. Now you're researching how to reduce harm, downing pickle juice and antacids, in hopes your kidneys survive the weekend. Medical science is screaming somewhere in the distance. Welcome to the weird wild west of DIY harm reduction, where desperation meets creativity and common sense packs its bags and quietly leaves. If the internet is to be believed, there is a countermeasure for every side effect, an antidote for every regret. Your search history reads like a medical student's fever dream. Is lemon juice bad for kidneys? Can you neutralize propylhexedrine with Tums? Does pickle juice cleanse the soul? You soon discover you're not alone. Online forums are full of earnest advice, some of it plausible, some of it dubious, all of it flavoured with the kind of optimism only found in people who believe you can outsmart biochemistry with a trip to the grocery store. Always pre-game with pickle juice. One commenter insists, keeps your stomach alkaline. Another chimes in, Tums after every sip, trust me, my cousin's a nurse. A third simply writes, bananas, just bananas. The advice is endless, looping in a cycle of hope and misunderstanding. There are full-blown protocols. Hydrate for 3 days prior, avoid caffeine, only extract with organic lemons, chase with Gatorade, meditate, and my personal favourite, listen to whale sounds to keep your heart rate down. Some claim you need to take a vitamin C supplement at exactly 42 minutes post-dose, for reasons even they cannot explain. At some point you're standing in your kitchen with a lineup of products, Tums, Gatorade, pickle juice, a bottle of magnesium, and the faint hope that this will all make sense by morning. You pop a couple of antacids, feeling like a child who's just eaten forbidden candy, then eye the jar of pickles with suspicion. The first sip is sharp, bracing. Your stomach, already confused by lemon and menthol, now adds dill to its list of grievances. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, "Isn't this just moving the problem around? After all, your kidneys weren't built for this. Neither were your taste buds." But harm reduction isn't about comfort. It's about the desperate, scrambling hope that you can patch over consequences with snacks and supplements. Online, you'll find testimonials. Didn't puke this time, must have been the pickles. No heartburn at all, thanks Tums. There's always a footnote. Results may vary. I'm not a doctor. The collective wisdom is sometimes touching, sometimes tragic. There's a shared sense of camaraderie, like a support group for the determinedly misinformed. Someone always posts a chart, usually colour-coded with suggested timelines. Pickle juice at T10 minutes, Tums at T+30, B-complex vitamin before bed. Someone else always adds, don't forget, water is life. Also, maybe don't do this at all. Of course, lurking in the background, actual medical professionals shudder. Somewhere a pharmacist feels a chill down their spine, and a nephrologist wakes up in a cold sweat. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. No amount of pickles or Tums can truly cancel out the effects of a homemade stimulant cocktail. The body is not a simple math equation. It's a complicated symphony of systems, all of which would really just prefer you drink a glass of water and get some sleep. Still, you press on because it feels better to be doing something, even if that something is sipping pickle juice and hoping for the best. You follow the rituals, you trust the wisdom of strangers, you tell yourself, this time will be different. After all, science is just trial and error, and you are nothing if not persistent. As the night wears on, your stomach gurgles, your mind races, and your kitchen counter looks like the set of a failed health commercial. You resolve once again to maybe, possibly, finally just read the warning label next time. In the end, harm reduction is more art than science, and sometimes more wishful thinking than either. But at least you've got your pickles, your antacids, and the knowledge that somewhere out there, someone else is doing exactly the same thing, just with a slightly different flavour of regret. Of course, not everyone walks away unscathed. Let's talk about the horror stories, ER visits, frantic Google searches for "is this normal?" and the kind of regret that sticks around longer than the buzz. It always starts with optimism. It can't be that bad, you tell yourself. People do this all the time. If it were dangerous, someone would have stopped it by now, right? You set up your kitchen chemistry lab, follow the step-by-step guides, even have a lineup of pickle juice and Tums for harm reduction. But soon, the fun ends, and the real education begins. It's different for everyone, but the stories all share the same plot twist. Somewhere along the line, the body says, actually no. Maybe it starts with the heart, a sudden thunderous pounding echoing in your ears and refusing to slow down no matter how much water you chug. Some people get tunnel vision. Others feel their hands go numb, their face tingle, their stomach twist into a carnival ride. The panic builds. You try to convince yourself it's just anxiety, just nerves, but the feeling only grows. That's when the frantic Googling begins. Benzedrex heart rate normal? Can you overdose on propylhexedrine? Is it bad if my left eye is twitching and I can hear colours? The internet, usually a comforting source of community, suddenly turns on you. Stories abound. Went to the ER, never again. Paramedics were super nice, but my insurance bill wasn't. Thought I was dying, turned out to be the world's worst panic attack and a slight case of lemon-induced acid reflux. The classic horror story unfolds like this. You're home alone, it's 2:30 a.m, and your heart is racing like you're being chased by a pack of caffeinated wolves. You consider riding it out, but then a new symptom appears. Chest pain, dizziness, maybe the creeping sense that your kidneys are staging a protest march. That's when you grab your shoes, or maybe just your phone, and dial for help. The ER, as always, is brightly lit and full of the echoes of other people's questionable decisions. You join a parade of late-night arrivals, someone who slipped on a skateboard, a man with a kitchen knife through a bagel in his hand, and you, clutching your chest and praying your browser history never sees the light of day. You fill out the intake form, awkwardly explaining, I drank a nasal inhaler, with lemon juice. The triage nurse doesn't blink. She's seen it all. Doctors run the usual battery of tests, EKGs, blood work, lots of questions about your medical history and why exactly you thought this was a good idea. You try to explain, the forums, the TikTok, the endless scroll of just trust me, bro testimonials. They nod, take notes, and administer fluids or medications to stabilize your racing heart and frazzled nerves. If you're lucky, the worst outcome is a hefty bill, a stern warning, and the realization that not all curiosity leads to wisdom. Some stories are scarier. There are tales of seizures, hallucinations, kidney injuries, or dangerous heart rhythms that stick around longer than the initial thrill. Some people wind up admitted for observation. A few end up in the ICU. For every walked-it-off survivor, there's a cautionary tale of days lost to confusion, sleep deprivation, or side effects that linger well past the morning after. And then, of course, there's the regret, the kind that hangs around like a stubborn cold. You promise yourself, never again. You delete your browser history, change your Reddit password, and quietly avoid the cold medicine aisle for the foreseeable future. The buzz fades, but the memory remains, a little scarier, a little sadder, and maybe, if you're lucky, a little wiser for the next time temptation comes calling. So when you read about Benzedrex gone wrong, remember, the real lesson isn't just about a nasal inhaler. It's about the power and danger of curiosity unchecked, the enduring appeal of bad ideas, and the comforting knowledge that, if things go south, at least you'll have an absurd story for your next group chat. Maybe just keep the pickle juice handy and consider sticking to tea. At some point the staff notices. Security footage reveals a parade of nervous adults buying out the inhaler stock. Meanwhile, the only real crime is a total lack of impulse control. If you think you're blending in, think again. There's something unmistakable about the determined shuffle of the Benzedrex buyer, moving with a mix of purpose and paranoia, eyes darting, fingers drumming, clutching a basket loaded with decoy purchases, a crossword book, nail clippers, 3 packs of gum, and, sandwiched right in the middle, a suspicious number of nasal inhalers. The cashier may offer a neutral smile, but the security cameras are less forgiving. Up in the little room above the pharmacy, behind a wall of grainy monitors and half-empty Red Bull cans, a security guard squints at the screens and sighs. Not again, they mutter, watching yet another grown adult perform the patented casual stroll down aisle 4. There's a certain choreography to it. Pretend to read the allergy medicine labels, pick up a greeting card, double back, then make a big show of, oh, I forgot I needed this, as they scoop 3 inhalers into the basket. The guard marks the time, right around 9:17 p.m, prime time for cold medicine heists and late-night regret. Security at CVS is a thankless job. Sure, the handbook covers what to do if someone's shoplifting or causing a scene at the self-checkout, but there's no section for what to do when half the neighbourhood is extracting amphetamine cousins in their kitchens. Sometimes the staff compare notes. That's the 3rd time this week we've sold out of nasal inhalers. Should we set a limit? Maybe we should just hand out warning pamphlets and coupons for tea. If there's a real mystery, it's how these buyers manage to look both guilty and determined. They're not stealing exactly, they pay for every item. But there's a furtive energy, a kind of don't ask me what I'm up to aura that even the pharmacy cat can sense. Some are first-timers, fumbling with the self-checkout and nervously glancing at the camera. Others are repeat visitors, so familiar they could probably draw the store's floor plan from memory. The only thing they all share is the world's worst poker face. Occasionally, someone gets bold. They'll ask the staff, "Are these good for allergies?" With the forced innocence of a teenager caught sneaking out after curfew, the employees, seasoned veterans of weird retail, just nod and ring up the purchase, mentally filing the customer under creative types. Meanwhile, the security footage piles up. Hours and hours of grown adults buying enough inhalers to survive a pollen apocalypse, all without a single sneeze in sight. Every so often, the manager holds a staff meeting. There's been an uptick in nasal inhaler sales, they announce, as if briefing a detective squad. Keep an eye out for anything unusual. The staff stifles laughter, because what exactly qualifies as unusual these days? The guy who bought 6 inhalers and a tub of lemon juice? The woman who asked if she could return an unused cotton rod? The teen who tried to pay in loose change and Pokemon cards? Behind the scenes, security debates their options. Should they intervene, call the police, stage a gentle intervention? In the end, they usually decide it's above their pay grade. Nobody's robbing the store, after all, just robbing themselves of a peaceful evening and maybe a few taste buds. On break, security swaps stories with the pharmacy techs. "Did you see the guy in aisle 4 last night? The one who nervously bought a candle and 5 inhalers?" "Yep. Not my circus, not my monkeys." There's camaraderie in shared confusion, a low-key marvel at just how creative people can be in the pursuit of questionable decisions. So the next time you find yourself passing under the watchful gaze of the CVS security camera, remember, they've seen it all. You're not the first, you won't be the last, and the only real crime they care about is running out of coffee before midnight. The rest? Just another chapter in the ongoing saga of what people will do for a legal buzz. The high fades, but the consequences don't. Monday morning arrives like a freight train of fatigue, dehydration, and regret. Maybe don't schedule that big meeting. You awaken in the wreckage. Not literal wreckage, your apartment is technically intact, though a little more alphabetized than it used to be. But spiritually, emotionally, you are rubble. The sun is too bright. Your thoughts are a carousel of half-finished projects, snack food wrappers, and haunting flashbacks of vacuuming the ceiling while whispering motivational quotes to yourself at 4:12 a.m. Welcome to the come-down, it's Monday morning, and your brain has filed for a leave of absence. The clarity you felt 24 hours ago has vanished like a Snapchat confession. You lie in bed, dry-mouthed and blinking, unsure whether you slept for 2 hours or blacked out during a TED talk on the dangers of over-the-counter self-experimentation. Your body is still buzzing faintly, like the afterglow of an electrical fire. Your soul has that freshly wrung-out feeling usually reserved for overcooked pasta and abandoned gym memberships. You sit up slowly. Your limbs ache. Your eyes are puffy. You reach for water with the solemn reverence of someone discovering hydration for the first time. And the worst part? The world keeps moving. Emails are being sent. Slack channels are buzzing. Your boss, who has never once in their life experienced recreational cold medicine use, is cheerfully asking if you can hop on a quick sink. You cannot. You can barely hop on one foot. You're a half-functioning ghost, tethered to reality only by the taste of hospital-scented cotton, still faintly lingering in your mouth. You consider calling in sick, but what do you even say? "Hi, I accidentally reverse-engineered a pharmacy product in my kitchen, and now I can hear the fluorescent lights." Nope. You shuffle into the bathroom and catch your reflection. Your eyes are dry. Your skin looks like it's been lightly toasted. There's a post-it note on the mirror that just says almonds in all caps. You have no memory of writing it. You attempt breakfast. You chew very slowly. Your stomach, having recently survived a citrus-drenched chemical bath, is understandably wary. Coffee sounds like a terrible idea. So does everything else. The idea of enduring a full day of work feels akin to swimming through glue while being judged by an audience of your exes. At your desk, you try to type. Words don't feel real. Every Slack message reads like a threat. You start a sentence and forget it halfway through. You write circle back 5 different times in one paragraph and can no longer tell if you're quoting corporate jargon or summoning a demon. You're convinced your co-workers know. You're positive they can smell the lemon and shame emanating from your pores. You open a tab to research how long until Benzedrex leaves your system and fall down a rabbit hole of cautionary tales, ER trip recaps, and one Reddit thread titled "It's been 72 hours and I can still hear colours." Comforting. Eventually you make it through the day, or at least you make it until 2:37 p.m, at which point you collapse onto the couch with a bottle of Gatorade and a growing sense that perhaps, just perhaps, there are better ways to spend your weekends, like puzzles or mild, non-lethal naps. And yet, as you drift into a restless nap, vaguely twitching from lingering stimulation, a thought occurs. You did get a lot done. The spice cabinet has never looked better. You cleaned behind the fridge. You invented a new filing system, but still, maybe next weekend just tea. Just a little bit of quiet, no cotton, no lemon juice. No Monday crash that feels like emotional whiplash wrapped in regret. Just sleep. Glorious, uneventful, uninterrupted sleep. At least until someone on Reddit posts a new safe guide. Then, all bets are off. You can't tell your boss you were up all night on nasal inhalers, so you invent a story about food poisoning, a raccoon attack, or anything less embarrassing. Welcome to the Benzedrex Hangover Olympics. Morning comes, and with it, the bright, unrelenting light of reality. You're running on 2 hours of fragmented sleep, and your brain feels like it's been marinated in menthol and regret. Your eyes are puffy, your voice is raw, and there's a suspiciously lemony aroma clinging to your hoodie. Your first challenge of the day, convincing the world that you're a fully functioning adult who definitely did not spend the night conducting pharmaceutical experiments in the kitchen. It starts at home. If you're lucky, your roommates or partner are heavy sleepers. But even so, someone will eventually notice the trail of decoy Gatorade bottles, the suspicious pile of empty nasal inhaler packaging, or the pickle juice stain in the sink. Rough night, they'll ask, eyebrows raised. You could tell the truth, but honestly, it's easier to invent a story about late-night indigestion, a Netflix binge gone wrong, or a sudden, heroic attempt to deep clean the house before sunrise. "I think I had some bad takeout," you mutter, knowing full well that the only thing you ingested was legal, citrus-flavoured, and profoundly regrettable. Then come the texts from friends. "Dude, why were you online at 4 a.m. posting memes about lemon juice? Did you really organise your entire closet in colour order last night? You scramble for a believable lie, a quick pivot to couldn't sleep so I just got productive, or the old classic, ha ha ha, insomnia strikes again." No one needs to know the real story, the solemn midnight ritual of extracting cotton, the parade of symptoms, or the secret shame of discovering that, yes, it really does taste as bad as everyone says. Work is the true test. Your boss catches you yawning in the Monday morning meeting, eyes red, hair in a state of chaotic enlightenment. You feel a bead of sweat form as you prepare your excuse. The options race through your mind. Food poisoning? Too basic. Allergies? Too risky. What if someone offers you an actual nasal inhaler? Animal attack? Unlikely, unless your boss has a fondness for urban wildlife. In a moment of panic, you settle on something generic but sympathetic. Didn't sleep much. The neighbours had a party. It's a safe bet. No one ever questions the party story. Of course, there are the professionals, the doctors, the therapists, the well-meaning family members who ask probing questions with gentle concern. "You seem a little anxious lately. Everything okay? You look tired. Is work stressing you out?" You nod solemnly. Adopting the universal face of modern life is hard. In reality, you're just hoping your next blood test doesn't reveal your brief, tragic career as a kitchen chemist. Sometimes the excuses spiral. "I think I'm getting the flu. My cat kept me up. I was up all night thinking about my taxes." The further you get from the truth, the easier it is to keep piling on, until you're spinning a web of half-lies so convoluted even you can't keep track. The only thing worse than being caught in a lie is being caught telling the truth. "Actually, I drank a nasal inhaler and cleaned my ceiling fan at 3 a.m. Try explaining that one to HR. Eventually the hangover passes, physically, if not emotionally. You promise yourself, never again, but deep down you know that curiosity and boredom are powerful forces. For now, you ride out the day, fueled by caffeine and denial, quietly hoping no one asks too many questions and that the lingering scent of menthol fades before the next family dinner. And so you become an artist of excuses, a champion of plausible deniability, a gold medalist in the Benzedrex Hangover Olympics. Because sometimes the only thing harder than surviving the night is explaining it the morning after. Welcome to the world of grown-up regrets and the stories we invent to keep them our little secret. Somewhere, a pharmacist is weeping softly while restocking empty inhaler racks. This isn't what pharmacy school prepared them for. The true unsung heroes of modern weirdness. If you've ever wondered what it's like behind the pharmacy counter during a Benzedrex boom, picture a calm sea disturbed by a sudden, inexplicable tidal wave. The pharmacist, that calm island of white coat serenity, is usually ready for anything. Insurance mix-ups, lost prescriptions, panicked parents clutching thermometers. But nothing in the textbooks covers a run on nasal inhalers, at least not for anything more than allergies, and certainly not for the parade of adults buying 3 at a time, with the same nervous energy as someone about to commit light tax fraud. It starts slowly. 1 or 2 inhalers sold, no big deal. Allergy season, right? Then, the numbers spike. The shelf empties faster than pumpkin spice in October. The orders double, then triple. Somewhere in the break room, a memo appears. Please watch for suspicious purchases of OTC stimulants. The pharmacy staff chuckle. How suspicious can someone be while buying cold medicine? Then the regulars show up. The college kid who suddenly develops chronic sinus issues. The soccer mom who can't stop talking about pollen counts. The retiree with a twinkle of mischief and a knack for using cash. Soon, every transaction feels loaded with subtext. The pharmacist tries to make small talk, rough season for allergies, huh? And is met with overly enthusiastic nods mumbled, yep, sure is, and averted eyes. Sometimes there are elaborate stories. Oh, these? I'm buying them for my neighbour. She loves a fresh-smelling house. Other times just a hasty no receipt, thanks. The unspoken tension hangs in the air. We both know you're not here for nasal congestion. It's not just the customers who get creative. The staff develop inside jokes. A tally board for weirdest excuse, bets on how many inhalers will be sold before noon, and a game of guess who's actually congested. But the humour is always tinged with concern. Pharmacists are trained to spot misuse, to counsel, to protect. But how do you gently intervene when the law is technically on the customer's side, when the product is legal and the only symptom is a desperate need to clean their ceiling at 3 a.m? The day grows long. Behind the counter, the pharmacist juggles prescription calls and questions about insurance, all while keeping one wary eye on the cold and flu section. Maybe they field the occasional awkward question, hey, is it safe to, use more than one of these at a time? Or, what's the best way to get the stuff out of the cotton? The pharmacist smiles, maintains professionalism, and gives the only advice they can. Please follow the directions on the label. Internally, they're screaming. After hours, the team vents. There are confessions. I think the entire track team is doing science projects. Someone asked if we sell lemon juice in bulk. I've seen enough nervous adults this week to last a lifetime. They compare stories, share warnings, and wonder if the next staff meeting will finally address the great inhaler shortage. There's talk of rationing, 1 per customer please, and a silent hope that next week's viral trend is something harmless, like bubble bath or vitamin gummies. Still, for every customer riding the Benzedrex roller coaster, there are dozens who truly just want to breathe easier. The pharmacist can't stop the curious, the determined, or the bored, but they can keep doing their job, dispensing not just medicine, but patience, empathy, and a touch of silent judgment. So next time you grab a nasal inhaler, think of the pharmacist. The sleepless nights, the endless restocking, the parade of stories and excuses. They've seen it all, and they'll keep showing up. Guardians of the cold aisle, unsung therapists of the pharmacy, bravely facing each new wave of weirdness with a sigh, a smile, and maybe, just maybe, a little hope that someday people will just use products as intended. CDC guidelines don't cover, don't drink the inhaler. Public health officials scramble to respond, but how do you educate people who are determined to outwit the system and their own survival instincts? Imagine being a public health worker in this era of endless creativity and restless curiosity. You spend years in school studying pathogens, pandemics, the delicate art of hand-washing posters. Then, one morning, you're in a meeting where someone asks, do we have a press release ready for the uptick in people drinking lemon-soaked cotton rods from nasal inhalers? It's not in the manual. There's no policy for this. You can almost hear the collective groan across cubicles. Not again. The challenge is monumental. Traditional warnings like do not ingest household cleaners, don't eat laundry pods, or stop licking frogs for fun were already difficult enough. But Benzedrex presents a whole new flavour of absurdity. The product is technically safe if you follow the instructions. It's not marketed for consumption, and every box is plastered with warnings. But warnings, it turns out, are like traffic cones in a Formula One race. Easy to ignore when you're determined to reach your destination. So public health teams assemble. There are brainstorming sessions. Someone suggests we should partner with influencers. Another says, what if we make a TikTok challenge about not drinking the inhaler? The more seasoned experts shake their heads, remembering the unintended consequences of past awareness campaigns. All we did was make them more curious. The dilemma: how do you warn people who pride themselves on breaking the rules? If you say, don't do this, it's an open invitation for the curious to try it, just to see what all the fuss is about. If you ignore it, you risk a quiet epidemic, hospitals filling with anxious adults explaining why their breath smells like menthol and regret. There's a sense that no matter what message you send, someone will find a way to misinterpret it, and probably make a meme about it. Officials debate strategies. Should they rewrite the warning labels in bigger, bolder fonts? Add a QR code that links to a video of a pharmacist sighing dramatically? Maybe commission a jingle, Benzedrex, not for brunch, and hope it catches on. Every suggestion feels a little more desperate than the last. Meanwhile, the public health machine rumbles into action. Social media posts, public service announcements, interviews on morning news shows. We want to remind the public, products designed for nasal use are not safe for ingestion. The label is not a suggestion. Please don't extract the cotton and soak it in lemon juice. The anchor nods, solemn. Somewhere, a bored college student writes down the recipe. The truth is, education alone can only go so far. Modern risk-takers are armed with more information, and more ways to misinterpret that information than ever before. No sooner does a warning go live than someone posts a debunking video, or claims the risks are overblown, or swears they've found the safe way to do it anyway. The cycle continues. Caution, curiosity, consequences, a new warning, repeat. Yet, the effort remains noble. Public health is, at its core, about hope. The hope that at least some people will read the label, listen to the advice, and find better ways to spend their weekends than squeezing cotton rods and chugging bitter lemonade. For every viral challenge or dubious TikTok tutorial, there's an army of nurses, doctors, and health educators doing their best to keep the rest of us safe, sane, and out of the ER. So if you ever wonder why warnings sometimes sound so obvious, remember, they weren't written for you, the reasonable, careful listener. They were written for the collective wisdom of humanity, the unstoppable force that brought us aviation, the internet, and yes, the Benzedrex epidemic. Public health can't close every loophole, but they'll never stop trying. And honestly, as you tuck yourself in tonight, be grateful for the people working overtime to keep the world just a little less weird, even if it means writing the world's strangest warning labels. The label is clear, do not ingest, but here we are. Let's take a closer look at what the warning label says, and what it somehow, against all odds, fails to prevent. The Benzedrex box sits on the kitchen counter, innocent and clinical, its font the universal language of medical boredom. You pick it up, turn it over, and there it is. The warning, written in stern, no-nonsense capitals. For nasal use only, do not ingest. It sounds definitive, as if anyone reading those words would simply nod. Return the product to the shelf and reach for a soothing cup of tea instead. But you, like thousands before you, have already skipped to step 2. Well, how bad could it be? The label tries so hard. It's the first line of defense, a printed plea to your better judgment. There's a list of active and inactive ingredients, as if the word inactive will discourage mischief. Next comes the familiar parade of cautions. Do not exceed recommended dosage. Consult a doctor if symptoms persist. And then the pièce de résistance, bold, boxed and underlined for emphasis. Do not use by mouth. Do not chew or swallow the inhaler or its contents. The warning is everywhere, on the box, the wrapper, the little insert you usually throw away without reading. If labels could beg, this one would be on its knees. Yet here we are, the warning treated as a friendly suggestion rather than the legal, medical equivalent of flashing red lights. There's something about a printed label that makes people feel invincible, like it's meant for someone else, for the reckless, not for the curious experimenter standing barefoot in their kitchen at midnight. Let's be honest, the warning label was never going to win this fight. Curiosity, boredom, and the collective wisdom of the internet have rendered it nearly powerless. Every do not is just another challenge, every danger a dare. The label doesn't account for forums filled with extraction tips, TikTok videos demonstrating the best way to do it, or Reddit threads debating the taste of lemon versus lime. It can't compete with YouTube testimonials or the eternal optimism of "it probably won't happen to me." The label does its best though. It warns of serious adverse effects, a phrase that manages to be both terrifying and vague. It mentions the dangers of misuse, possible side effects, and the all-important call to action. If ingested, seek medical attention immediately. The word immediately is doing a lot of heavy lifting here, especially for an audience more likely to Google symptoms than call a doctor. Ironically, the clearer the warning, the less effective it sometimes becomes. Human nature bristles at the idea of being told what not to do, especially when the forbidden act is as simple as unscrewing a cap and squeezing a cotton rod into a glass. Surely they're just being cautious, you reason. Surely the real danger is for someone else, someone less careful, less prepared. The label can't stop the rationalizations, the excuses, the midnight just this once. The truly dedicated label reader is a rare breed. They're the ones who know exactly how many milligrams of propylhexedrine are in each inhaler, who cross-reference side effects, who can recite the do not use section by heart. But even they aren't immune. The longer you stare at the label, the more it fades into the background, drowned out by the louder voices of online communities, viral videos, and the tiny thrill of doing something you're absolutely not supposed to do. And so, the label remains, a silent stoic guardian, endlessly ignored, occasionally consulted, rarely obeyed. It is both a shield and a relic, a hopeful gesture in the face of human creativity. Do not ingest, it pleads, but curiosity always finds a way. So next time you pick up a product and see a warning label, take a moment to really read it. Consider the years of regret, the piles of paperwork, and the stories from the ER that led to those simple, desperate words. They're not just there for liability. They're there because somewhere, someone tried exactly what you're thinking. And against all odds, they did not read the label either. Finally, let's peek ahead. Will Benzedrex join the ranks of other bizarre drug fads, or is this just the beginning? What will desperate, bored, and curious people think of next? Only time, and maybe a new flavour of cold medicine, will tell. History, after all, is a parade of strange obsessions. Inhalers today, poppers and diet pills yesterday, energy tonics and brain elixirs before that. Humanity's love affair with loopholes and the promise of feeling just a little bit different has never been limited by taste, convenience, or, let's be honest, good sense. There's always been an edge, a boundary, and just over it, the gleam of something new, strange, and probably regrettable. So what's next for Benzedrex? Some say it's only a matter of time before the authorities catch on. A few ER visits, a handful of think pieces, and suddenly the FDA will revisit regulations. Maybe there'll be a new form to sign at the pharmacy, or a nationwide limit on nasal inhaler purchases. The cold medicine aisle will get a little less crowded, and some other overlooked product will become the next big thing. Perhaps future generations will read about the Benzedrex boom, the way we now marvel at the age of laughing gas parties, or the summer everyone tried to trip on nutmeg. But maybe, just maybe, Benzedrex will linger, a quirky footnote in the annals of DIY pharmacology. It might never be as infamous as bath salts or as mainstream as energy drinks, but it has carved out a niche in the hearts and cardiovascular systems of the chronically curious. There's something almost comforting in the predictability of it all. New fad, rush of excitement, cautionary tales, and finally the slow fade as the next shiny danger takes the stage. What fuels the next chapter? The same cocktail of boredom, access, and the timeless urge to experiment. The internet ensures that every trend, no matter how absurd, finds its audience. Tomorrow's pharmacists may be restocking shelves for a different reason. Maybe it'll be a new all-natural supplement that promises cosmic energy and a clear complexion. Maybe an obscure herbal extract from a distant rainforest. Its warning label already ignored in 6 languages. Maybe, in a poetic twist, we'll circle back to something old made new again, because nostalgia is powerful and TikTok loves a comeback. What never seems to change is the ingenuity of the human mind when faced with limits. The war on meth didn't end with the meth lab. It simply moved to the pharmacy aisle. Crackdowns on cough syrup and allergy meds didn't end the quest for a legal buzz. They opened the door to lemon-soaked cotton and an entire generation of midnight chemists. The moment one loophole closes, 3 more appear, each more elaborate, more desperate, and more memeable than the last. Will Benzedrex join the ranks of legendary cautionary tales, or will it quietly disappear, another secret handshake in the subculture of legal highs? The answer, as always, lies somewhere between policy changes and public boredom. A single viral news story could tip the scales, sending the whole thing back underground or spark a backlash so dramatic that even the most determined experimenters think twice. For now, the Benzedrex era is a living, breathing testament to curiosity run wild. Late-night forums and kitchen labs, warning labels ignored and urban legends shared, the low hum of risk paired with the high-pitched thrill of getting away with something you probably shouldn't. Whether you're a participant, a spectator, or just someone watching it all unfold with bemused horror, you can't help but wonder what's next. And maybe that's the real answer. It never truly ends. As long as there are loopholes, as long as there's boredom, as long as someone looks at a warning label and thinks, but what if? There will be another Benzedrex, another fad, another story. The future is uncertain, but one thing is guaranteed. Humanity's taste for adventure and questionable decisions isn't going away anytime soon. You've seen medical journals, you've seen the CDC, but nothing prepares you for the pure, unfiltered confidence of a Reddit comment at 2 a.m. From just eat bread after to dude, you'll be fine. I do this every week. You're now relying on anonymous strangers whose only credentials are a flare that says Pharmacy Tech 2016. What could possibly go wrong? It starts innocently enough. A quick scroll, curiosity, maybe a late-night Google search. But then you fall into the labyrinthine depths of Reddit. Subreddits dedicated to everything from legal stimulant experiments to over-the-counter adventures emerge as strange, chaotic sanctuaries. Here, your audience consists entirely of strangers, most with usernames that range from clever puns to ominous threats of chaos. Benzedrex Bro 40, 2 posts a detailed step-by-step extraction guide. Minty Marauder comments on flavor profiles, reporting the experience as like a hospital hallway in liquid form. You read, nod, and suddenly feel like you're part of an exclusive, if entirely reckless society. The beauty of Reddit is in its confidence. Trust me, bro is the mantra. Every post comes with an aura of absolute authority, regardless of its source. It doesn't matter if the user is a seasoned pharmacist, a bored college student, or someone who just watched a YouTube video titled, How to Be Awake Forever. Their advice is delivered with the certainty of a Nobel laureate, and you, sitting in your kitchen at 1:47 a.m., are inclined to believe them. After all, someone on the internet said it, so it must be true. The instructions are creative. Eat some bread first, it buffers the stomach, suggests one user, while another adds, drink water, but not too much, or it'll dilute the effect. Trust me. There are elaborate disclaimers peppered in, usually in all caps. I am not a doctor, use at your own risk, and the classic, but this is legal, so it's fine. You absorb these like gospel, simultaneously reassured and terrified, aware that the advice is only slightly better than following a how-to for building a time machine out of cardboard boxes. The comment section is a carnival of anecdotal science. One person reports heart palpitations but claims they were fun and invigorating. Another boasts of reorganizing their entire apartment mid-trip. Occasionally, someone posts a cautionary tale, a tragicomic account of spending hours curled up in a bathtub, clutching a heating pad, while the world spun in fluorescent delirium. You take mental notes, nodding gravely, filing these away as essential data points for your own experiment. There's a ritualistic quality to reading these threads. You scroll past memes, upvote posts that amuse you, and carefully consider the advice that resonates most with your own brand of reckless curiosity. You check flair, pharmacy tech, med student, chemist, someone who just says enlightened. Credentials are mostly symbolic. Confidence is everything. The more confident the user, the more weight their words carry, even if the practical outcome is drink lemon water and hope for the best. Yet, beneath the humour and absurdity, there's a strange sense of community. People encourage each other, offer step-by-step instructions, post timelines of onset, duration and come down, and even suggest ways to minimise regret. It's a digital support group, a strange social experiment where everyone shares their own misadventures and survival tips. You laugh, you cringe, you take notes, and you keep scrolling because somewhere in the next thread there might be the secret to surviving the night without dying, or at least without hallucinating about your neighbour's cat. Ultimately, Reddit wisdom is a blend of courage, confusion, and chaos, served raw and unfiltered. You leave the thread, armed with a strange combination of hope, fear, and a little bit of reckless confidence. And while you know rationally that this is not medical advice, there's something intoxicating about the pure trust, the shared, late-night faith that someone, somewhere, knows exactly what they're doing. It's science, sort of. It's peer review, kind of. It's human curiosity, absolutely. And as you step back into your kitchen, inhaler in hand, you realise the most dangerous thing isn't the chemical, it's the collective confidence of strangers who swear they've got it all figured out. As the Benzedrex wave sweeps the nation, you find yourself on a bizarre scavenger hunt, checking Walmart shelves, CVS end caps, even the suspicious corner bodega. Each store tells a story. Some have locked the inhalers behind the counter, others display a polite sign. Limit 2 per customer. Yes, we know what you're doing. You didn't expect this to become your personal odyssey. You thought you'd walk in, grab an inhaler off the shelf like a normal semi-responsible adult, and quietly retreat into your lemon-scented evening of questionable decisions. But no, the shelves are bare. The cold medicine aisle is a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Dusty bottles of children's cough syrup stand like survivors. A single off-brand neti pot taunts you from a middle shelf. The Benzedrex, gone. Again. Your search expands. Walmart becomes the next logical destination. You brace yourself for the bright lights, the endless maze of aisles, the man buying 30 cans of whipped cream and a machete. At first glance, success. One lonely inhaler clinging to the peg like the last slice of dignity in a group chat apology. But as you reach out, someone else's hand swoops in. You lock eyes. No words are exchanged. You both know why you're here. A silent standoff ensues, only broken when you back away, muttering something about your sinuses while the other shopper disappears with the prize. By now, it's a full-blown hunt. Walgreens, Rite Aid, a Family Dollar in a questionable part of town. Some stores play dumb. Oh, we must be out. Others are blunt. Yeah, we pulled them last week. One cashier rolls her eyes so hard you can hear it. Another one? She asks, ringing up someone who just bought nail polish remover and 6 lemons. You make note. That store's tapped out. On to the next. You start recognizing patterns. CVS stores have developed protocols. Some have polite signs taped to the plastic shelf where the inhalers used to live. Temporarily out of stock. Others are passive-aggressive masterpieces. Limit 2 per customer. If you know, you know. Occasionally the pharmacist keeps them behind the counter, doling them out like contraband. Eyes narrowed, judgment heavy. Are you congested? Or congested? Then there's Walmart. Walmart doesn't ask questions. Walmart just restocks. It's the Wild West in there. Shelves fully stocked at 3 a.m. People casually walking out with armfuls. You start suspecting the employees are in on it. One greets you with a knowing nod. Check aisle 14, bottom shelf behind the Vicks. You thank him like he's just handed you a treasure map, which, in a way, he has. And of course, there's always the corner store. The one where the guy behind the counter sells blunt wraps, expired energy drinks, and yes, 3 dusty Benzedrex inhalers priced just slightly above retail. He doesn't care what you do with them. He just wants exact change. You hand over the crumpled bills and leave, feeling like a raccoon who just raided a vending machine. News travels fast. Online forums are lit up with supply chain updates. Try the Walgreens off 6th and Main. Restock Thursdays. Walmart has them if you go before 10 a.m. and act casual. CVS is onto us. Bring decoy items and don't make eye contact. Some users even develop regional inhaler maps, color-coded for availability. It's less about health now and more about strategy. Benzedrex has become the beanie baby of the pharmacy aisle. Eventually the shortage peaks. Pharmacists hold emergency meetings. Retailers start tracking sales. Corporate sends down new policies. Keep it behind the counter, ask questions, pretend to care, but the seekers persist. Where there's a will, there's a way. And apparently where there's boredom, there's always another store. And so, the great inhaler shortage of 2024 joins the ranks of history's weirdest crises. Somewhere between the toilet paper famine of 2020 and the Adderall drought of 2022, it earns its place. A time when Americans everywhere united in pursuit of one common goal, lemon-soaked cotton and the promise of productivity at 3 a.m. History books probably won't mention it, but Reddit will never forget. There's a special terror reserved for the first-timer. You clutch your phone, following a YouTube tutorial while your heart races and your palms sweat. Did you miss a step? Should it smell like that? Is your cat judging you? It's like trying to defuse a bomb with way less training and much higher stakes for your dignity. You start by watching a video titled Benzedrex for Beginners, Safe Method Bro, uploaded by a guy named VapeWizard34, who looks like he hasn't blinked in 6 hours. He's confident, too confident. He talks fast, skips steps, and throws in phrases like you'll know when it's working without ever clarifying what working actually feels like. You pause, rewind, squint. Did he just squeeze the cotton rod with salad tongs? Is that part of it? Your workspace is a chaos of improvisation. A shot glass, a spoon, a lemon, an emergency stash of crackers for later. You've cleared the table and lit a candle, not for ambiance, but in some vague attempt to make this look less like a crime scene and more like a Pinterest project. Your cat watches from the counter, eyes wide, silently judging you with the eternal stare of, "This is why I knock your stuff over at 3 a.m. The first question hits fast. How do you open this thing? The inhaler tube was clearly not designed for curious humans with poor impulse control. You twist, pull, pry, and eventually just stab it with a fork until the plastic gives up and reveals the infamous cotton rod. You hold it up like it's Excalibur, wondering how something so small could cause so much confusion, panic, and Reddit debate. Next comes the soak. You pour lemon juice over it like it's a forbidden recipe passed down through generations of internet chemists. The scent hits instantly, sharp, sterile, vaguely medicinal, and absolutely not what your kitchen should smell like at midnight. You pause. Is that normal? You whisper to no one in particular. Now you wait. The video didn't say how long, just not too long, which is helpful in the same way Don't Burn It is helpful in a baking recipe. You second guess everything. Should it be fizzing? Should it be floating? Is it supposed to look like that? You resist the urge to call poison control just to ask if your cotton is behaving appropriately. Finally, the moment of truth. You pour the lemony solution into a glass, hold it up to the light and take a deep breath, not of the liquid, just to calm your soul. The liquid shimmers with menace. You hesitate. Your brain flashes warnings. This is not what nasal inhalers were made for. This is not what the FDA intended. But curiosity is louder than reason, and here you are. You sip. You grimace. The taste is somewhere between expired cleaning products and betrayal. Immediately, you question every decision that led to this point. You look around as if someone might burst in and stop you. Your cat yawns and leaves the room. The effects creep in slowly, or maybe it's just placebo. You're hyper-aware of your own heartbeat. You start cleaning things that haven't been touched since 2016. You wonder if you're doing this right, and then, with chilling clarity, realize there is no right here. There is only less wrong. Later, as you stare at the ceiling at 2:47 a.m., you'll reflect on the experience with a mix of pride and shame. You followed the steps, you survived, and you now have a slightly better understanding of why warning labels exist. You'll post a vague comment on Reddit, worked, but wouldn't recommend, and scroll on, wondering if anyone else felt as unprepared as you did. And if someone asks you how to do it, you'll smile and say what every first-timer says once they've made it through the chaos, the confusion, and the cat's judgment. I have no idea. Just don't forget the lemon juice. And so, as the clock ticks into the soft hours of the night, and your eyes grow heavier, let's take a quiet moment to reflect on the astonishing, awkward, and slightly jittery saga of the Benzedrex epidemic. Tonight, you survived the curious urge to chug a nasal inhaler, navigated the wilds of the CVS cold and flu aisle, and emerged miraculously with your dignity and cardiovascular system mostly intact. You've wandered through a world where medicine cabinets double as adventure novels, where TikTok teens become pharmacists, and where the phrase "do not ingest" is more of a suggestion than a rule. You've met the tireless retail workers who deserve a medal for not judging anyone's life choices, the online forums where everyone's an expert, and the public health officials just trying to keep up. You've seen just how inventive and how ridiculous people can be when modern life, boredom, and a hint of curiosity collide. But here's the thing. The story of Benzedrex isn't really about inhalers, or even about poor impulse control. It's about people being people. Stubborn, hopeful, a little foolish, and always searching for something to take the edge off the day. Maybe it's comfort, maybe it's escape, maybe it's just the thrill of doing something a little bit weird because, let's face it, modern life is overwhelming and sometimes you just need a story to tell at parties or to keep to yourself. So tonight, as you settle into your clean bed with indoor plumbing, actual medical advice, and a distinct lack of cotton rods floating in lemon juice, whisper a quiet thank you for the era you live in. You have a smartphone, a fan for white noise, and a world of distractions that, usually, don't involve consulting poison control. Maybe take a moment to be grateful for the simple things: water that won't betray you, medicine that works as intended, and a society where your greatest late-night risk is ordering takeout, not extracting stimulants from plastic tubes. Because history, as always, is a reminder that people will try almost anything to feel a little better, but they'll also survive, adapt, and eventually laugh about it all. Rest easy, knowing you made it through another strange night. The world will still be weird tomorrow, but for now you can close your eyes, take a deep breath and drift off. Safe, warm, and inhaler-free. Good night.